Welcome back to Hoops HD, everybody, and we are
Woohoo!
into the 2023-2024 season. This is our first podcast, regular season podcast at least.
Yeah.
It's a special edition of the Hoops HD report. We're recording here on Wednesday, November 8th. I'm your host, Chad Sherwood, joined up top here by David Dorbert and Matt Sikowski. Down below me, John Titel. To his sides, John Slika and David Griggs. And before we get to what we're going to talk about tonight, I first want to go over to David Dorbert. You're coming to us from a special location tonight, in fact.
Hi, guys. Yes, I'm at the Wintrust Arena in downtown Chicago for the Barstool Invitational. We're in between games here. The first game was between the home team, the home city, Loyola Ramblers, taking on Florida Atlantic, last year's March Darling, the Owls. And they are as good as advertised. This team is really good, really strong, really deep. The big guy, Vladislav Golden, had a double-double, 18 and 10. He was too much down low for Loyola. And then John L. Davis, the guard, the point guard, handles the ball, takes care of the ball, sets up the offense, gets guys open, takes the ball to the rack, gets big shot, hit the big shots when they needed to. Points over turnover, or points off of turnovers, 27-7. Florida Atlantic's pressure D was really solid tonight.
Yeah. David, it looks like you're in sort of the media room there. It is the Barstool Invitational. How much alcohol is actually in the media room?
Zero in the media room,
Oh,
tons outside the media room.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
so
been a
they,
fun game. It was a fun first game to watch this doubleheader. I know the second game, Arizona State, Mississippi State, starting in a little bit here as we record this. They had interviews with the mop guys. They had a big controversy over the fact he didn't change his mop out at halftime.
they
It was
interviewed the mob
entertaining
guy. All
multiple
right.
times, multiple times.
They're stealing our idea. I mean, they're no big sky floor sweepers.
Matt, you had a comment?
This guy, yeah, I think it was pretty impressive. Loyola, I liked what they tried to do on defense for the most part. They had trouble guarding Vlad. That's gonna be a lot of teams. And man, that offense is still a train wreck. I remember even watching the tournament game against Ohio State. I'm like, what is your offensive concept? What are you trying to run? I still see no differently. And it's one of those that looks about a 17 win team because of the talent that would win about 22 games with a good coach and good offensive system.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Loyola team. Yeah, definitely. But
So,
what
yeah, are
we're
we going to do what a 5-minute Hoops HD report to
No,
recap everything?
no, we're not. What we are going to do instead is, if you want the recap of what's happened the first few nights and everything that's going to happen over the weekend, back coming up Monday night, we're going to do our regular Hoops HD report. Next Wednesday, we'll do our regular Under the Radar report. But tonight, we are instead going to go over. If you are on the website, you can go up to the in-season tournaments tab up there. It has all the in-season tournaments, or the exempt tournaments, as some people call them. They're called exempt because we play one of them. One of them, you get to play 31 games in your regular season as opposed to 30. It's you got to play in one of these events.
Yeah. So just to clarify that they're now called multi-team events, Chad.
Okay.
And if you're allowed 29 games, not including the conference tournament. So it's 29 games in addition to that. The Ivy is allowed 30. But if you're in a multi-team event, because nobody's exempt anymore, it's a multi-team event, you're allowed 31.
Yeah.
How about that?
Well, whatever. It doesn't really matter. But what it comes down to is a lot of these events are just round robin events, where three or four teams may get together, either neutral site or even on campus sites, and play games. We're not going over any of those round robin events tonight. What we are going to concentrate solely on is the ones that actually have brackets, because we love brackets. It's a
Yeah.
college basketball fan. We are not going over whatever the NBA is doing, because advertising themselves as a single elimination tournament where they're starting off by playing round robin on multiple weeks. No, that is not an in-season tournament. These are real in-season tournaments. So NBA, we're never going to discuss you again. Um, if you go up there on this tab, or you can follow along with what we're going to do here, we're going to go through all these events. And if I did things right, the very first event, which is going to tip here on Friday, or Fur Day, according to the typo on the screen there, is the Asheville Championship.
I'm so glad we're off to this start.
Wait. Now it's tipping off on Friday. It is the Asheville Championship. And let me start with, who do we want to start with tonight? Titel, let me start with you here. The Asheville Championship, Maryland versus Davidson and Clemson versus UAB. What are you looking forward to in this event, and who do you think is going to win it?
I have the Terps winning it.
Okay.
I think that if this was played last year, I would have picked UAB actually, but new year. Julian Reese started off nice for the Terps, 18 points and 8 boards in their win over Mount St. Mary's. Last year, it was his sister Angel, the NCAA tournament MVP for LSU, who was the star of the family, and she did have a double-double the other day, but they lost to Colorado. So I think this is Julian's time to take over the family mantle as best player.
How about the other? I know Maryland, I agree with your pick, Titel, but as far as the most intriguing game, Clemson and Maryland, if it holds up, would be pretty good. We get a chance to learn something about Clemson. Brad Bennell is on the hot seat, but what about this Clemson UAB game? Two kind of contrasting styles, a half-court slowdown defense against UAB, who likes to move up and down a little bit. Yeah, anyway, great job. Yeah, anyway.
I thought you were asking Titel. I was waiting for.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, again, like I think last year I would have picked UAB. This year, I think Brownell, he brings back PJ Hall, big man.
Yeah.
And I assume that Clemson is much closer to Asheville than UAB is, so I assume there will be a little better fan turnout. So I will pick Maryland over Clemson in the title game.
Oh, Asheville is a beautiful place to go visit, so I actually would encourage everyone from these four schools to go there.
Right, and then Davidson just wow.
Well, and Davidson's in the event, right?
Yeah, Davidson is in the event.
I think UAB takes out Davidson in the third place game on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
Moving over here,
Chad,
yes.
You mentioned the third place game. We kind of threw this together. Titel's here, Dorman's here. We've got some good bracketologists here. Does the third place game mean any less just because it's the third place game?
Yes, it absolutely does, because you don't get to win a trophy. But other than that, no, it does not.
On a team sheet, it might as well be a regular season game. They all count.
In terms of NCAA tournament qualification, yes, a third place game or seventh place game is the same as a championship game. However, like I said, you do get to bring home a trophy if you win the event. So, Matt, the second event to tip off here is actually going to be starting next week here. It's going to be the Myrtle Beach Invitational. This is one of the handful of 8 teams events here. We have Charleston versus Vermont, St. Louis, Wyoming, Wichita State Coastal, and Furman versus Liberty. What do you like or not like about this event, which is getting a lot of TV coverage for these teams?
I like it's intriguing because, like I said, you don't have any Power 6 teams in this, but it's basically all the best of the rest conferences have represented. And then Charleston, who had the great season last year, you got St. Louis from the A-10, you got Wichita State from the American, and then Furman, who had the big first round win last year, Wyoming from the Mountain West. So I like this kind of collection of teams in that, and I think someone on their team sheet could have possibly a tier 1 and a tier 2 win if they go all the way in that. And I think a big opportunity for Charleston, who especially last year, if they discussed the merits, if they needed that large, their resume was thin. This gives them an opportunity, and in their home territory there, get a couple of big wins to build their team sheet to where if they do need it that large.
Kind of home territory, although Coastal Carolina, it's actually in their home building, so they've got it. Although Charleston at least being on the other half of the bracket here. Dorman, though, I think Charleston's road to this championship is really interesting because I think it was one of the best first round games in any event is this Charleston-Vermont game. Under the radar, but it is 2 pretty good teams.
Under the radar, terrific. Anyone penciling in Charleston for the semis on Friday better hold up a sec here. Vermont is back and loaded again. This Vermont team, Coach Beck, is phenomenal. Every year, he just gets it done. Matt was talking about offense, or Stalika was talking about offense and coaches that know what they want to do. Coach Beck at Vermont is exactly that. Their style on offense, the way they grind you on defense. Charleston, Vermont, a fantastic first-round game. And also, Furman, everyone knows what happened there last year in March, gets Liberty. Liberty is one of the really strong under the radar teams this year.
Yeah, let's talk about the one thing about Liberty. I think we're all expecting them to have a bloated record. I know they're in a a stronger conference this year, at least a little bit, so that'll help their metrics. Is there a game in here that, if they were to win it, would be good enough as a signature win, or do they need to do more? Because I like a lot of the teams in this tournament. I just wish that they would get the chance to take on somebody other than each other.
I think it's kind of what Matt said at the beginning, though. I mean, whoever wins this event is going to have a few pieces there, but I think you've
Yeah.
got to win this event to
Yeah,
really
you got
have
to win it.
to
Yeah.
have those pieces because there is not a no name that pops out of here. Speaking of which, though, Griggs, who does win this event?
Um, there's two teams that I really like, and
Well, you can only
if the
pick one.
chalk holds, but I only get one, I'm gonna pick College of Charleston over Liberty. Charleston did have to sweat out an Iona team that's rebuilding, but again, it was game one, night one. I still think that they have a lot. Actually, I'm flipping. I'm going with Liberty. I just like them a little too
Oh,
much.
with Liberty. Okay. Salika, let me bring you in here. Speaking of Charleston, while College of Charleston is in Myrtle is down there in Myrtle Beach, their city is going to be hosting the Charleston Classic, another 8-team event with a few better names here too. St. John's, North Texas, Dayton, LSU, Houston, Towson, Utah, and Wake.
Well, technically, Charleston is going to be up in Myrtle Beach if you look at a map of South Carolina.
Okay. I have my geography wrong. Go ahead.
But if we're going right here, I would probably say St. John's looks to be the top team in the top half of the bracket right here. That includes North Texas, Dayton, and LSU. Kind of wish that Johnny's could have played the North Texas team from last year, but alas, it is a different season right here. At the bottom of the bracket, it's got to be a slam dunk that Houston's going to be moving on right here. Wake Forest, if you go by what we saw Monday, I would not take beating Utah for granted right here. But if we're
struggling,
go ahead.
If we're looking at a potential championship game right here, I would probably say Houston should beat St. John's, but hopefully the Cougars do not fall into the trap they did in the second half last year, and that's fall into a massive scoring droughts. You don't want to do that against a Patino team that can put points up in a hurry.
Yeah, Wake had to sweat out Elon the other night. Houston really strong. The one thing I want to ask is Dayton on notice here, and I know this is kind of crazy to say.
Well, Griggs, let me just throw this out there about Dayton. A little bad news tonight, actually. Their starting point guard, Malachi Smith, injury, out for an injury, out for the season.
Oh my
devastating news for Dayton tonight, coming out tonight. For a team that just has been. So I
don't know if there's a more cursed program. Good grief! I'm very sorry to hear that. I'm actually learning that right in real time right now. I did not know that. I'm so sorry that happened.
And keep in mind,
did it happen in practice? I take it, or
no? It happened to their opening game.
Oh man, he was a little bit tentative in the preseason with coming back from an injury, but man,
yeah,
first game of the year. Geez,
I watched some of the game. SIUE, an OVC team that I think we all kind of like, but there's so much going on. I just missed that he had been injured. I'm just so sorry to hear that.
Titel, is this event basically Houston wins it, especially with Dayton being undermanned now, and I think there are question marks about the St. John's team.
I'm still recovering from the fact that apparently I have to like SIUE now, but moving on. This is Houston over St. John's. It's amazing that a tournament like this, which is not like a tier 1A like a Maui or a Battle for Atlantis, but if you can get Kelvin Sampson and Rick Pitino in the final, you should watch that game at 8:30 p.m. on ESPN on Sunday.
Absolutely. I think that would be fun. I'm not 100% convinced that St. John's gets there, honestly. But I mean, with Dane being undermanned, North Texas, could they pull off the upset? I don't know.
They looked pretty good the other night against Northern Iowa.
Let's bring Dorman back in here at the Legends Classic. This is a 4-team event. Oklahoma State, the Bonnies, Notre Dame, and Auburn, who played pretty good against Baylor.
This is a very liberal use of the word legends. This year.
Coach Pearl is not a legend. Oh, okay. I was really impressed with Auburn last night. They had Baylor on the ropes, really controlled the game to the last 2 minutes or so. Notre Dame coming in with the new coach, coming over from Penn State. We'll see him slow it down. I don't think he has the firepower this year to beat a up and down team like Auburn. Oklahoma State and St. Bonaventure, this game should be fantastic. This game to me is a flip-flop. You can pick either side here. But I think we're going to learn a lot about three of these teams, Notre Dame being the one I don't have high hopes for this year. But the other three should be good contests everywhere around.
Well, don't forget Oklahoma State coming off with the opener loss at home to Abilene Christian. So that doesn't bode well. And the Bonnies, Matt, they may be the favorite in the A-10 now without Malachi Smith at Dayton.
Yeah, this is one of the big opportunities, especially if they get Auburn to where that's. I don't know how many chances they're going to have to build a that large resume. That could be one of them. Like, I still favor Auburn in that game. I thought they looked very impressive, even though losing to Baylor. I think Baylor's going to be a top 10 team this year. So, so I think this is a chance for the Bonnies, but man, that's a tough test against Auburn. And then it definitely should be. I would expect to be that in the title game. If it's not, that's not good news for the Bonnies because I know it'll be Auburn.
Yeah. We're up to Tytel. Let me bring you back in here for the what's up here? The Bahamas Championship. Friday and Sunday the 17th and 19th. Miami versus Georgia, K-State versus Providence.
Another one of, man, how much would we have loved to see last year if Miami and Kansas State could have matched up? That was like a potential Final Four game, for God's sake. This year, I think Miami lost too much talent. They still have plenty, but they just lost a lot of guys. So, and not that Kansas State didn't, but I'll go with the Wildcats. If you remember the last time we saw their senior point guard, Tyler Perry, not from the movies, but he was being named the NIT MVP when he was at North Texas. Then he transfers to Manhattan, and he had a great debut in their loss to USC. 22 points, 6 boards, 6 assists, 4 steals. I love it when transfers go from small schools to big schools and still become big-time players.
So you think K-State wins this entire event, even over Miami?
I do, Chad.
Okay. All right. Let me just quick ask here. Salika, do you agree with him?
I would probably go with the Canes in this event right here. I could easily see Kansas State being competitive in the championship game right here.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Griggs, the Paradise Jam, an 8-team event.
Yes, sir. Yes.
All on ESPN Plus. And Abilene Christian, fresh off the win at Oklahoma State, going up against Tim Miles and San Jose State in the first round, along with Norfolk State, Fordham, Hampton, Kent State, and Missouri State against Gulf Coast, who gave Indiana a game the other night. So
yeah, they did. Gulf Coast right in there, deep into the second half. Indiana did get control, but it was very, with about 5 minutes to go. I mean, Gulf Coast stayed right with them. Really impressive showing. Kent State, a good under the radar team. I don't like them quite as much as Akron and maybe another team in their conference, but this is a chance for them to get some wins in a knockout format. Just kind of Fordham was a great story last year. I'm trying, Chad, to pump this up. We'll all be watching, but it's probably one of the weaker fields that we've revealed so far.
Yeah, it might be. Would not shock me if Fordham made a run to the finals here.
It wouldn't me either. I think that Fordham, they did not look good in their. They won, but they did not look good against a Wagner team that does not look good in their first game. But Norfolk State, incredibly winnable. Abilene Christian is good. I do think they're going to get past San Jose State, despite Tim Miles being the best coach that ever lived. And that's a good game. That Fordham Abilene Christian game's interesting.
Dorman, is this Kent State's event to lose, though? I mean, when I look at the rosters, I think that might be the best team here, no?
Yeah. On paper, I think they're the best team, but I was impressed also with Florida Gulf Coast. Indiana they were with Indiana for 38 minutes in Bloomington. I was really impressed. They got some shooters. They got some guys down low that can hold their own. I'd like to see, I think, a Kent State Fordham final.
All right.
Yes. I would like to point out that this game down in the Virgin Islands, beautiful part of the world, anyone that travels down there and spends all 3 days at all 4 games, that is Hoops HD.
Well, I'll give you this, Griggs. The event is actually going over 4 days, and they're splitting the semifinal days over Saturday and Sunday. The consolation Saturday, so you can get out a little bit at least to the beach there on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
Sleek, I know you want to talk about the Continental Tire main event in Las Vegas here. Your Xavier Musketeers taking on Washington, and San Diego State St. Mary's the other game. A very, very good field here.
Yeah, if you look at the opening game right here, it almost seems to be first to 50 probably wins against the Gales and Aztecs right here. I think San Diego State probably has enough pieces that I would probably favor them to win the event right here. Xavier didn't have too much trouble against Robert Morris. However, if we look at how they would do in a field like this one, they should have enough talent that they should be able to beat the Huskies in the opening round. Probably not going to beat San Diego State if they have enough offensive lapses like they occasionally did on Monday night. Now, the one freshman we did not get to see for the Musketeers was Lazar Djokovic, who was out with an injury, but they were still able to get contributions from 9 other players that saw some game action on Monday.
Oh, Matt, I don't think I agree with him. I like the St. Mary's team.
Yeah, I think I do. That's bad. Like, I worry a little bit because I think San Diego State's gonna be the more athletic team, but I think in the end, offensive execution, they'll be able to score a little bit easier, and that'll take them through. And I think the winner of that game probably shouldn't win this event. I think they're definitely stronger than the bottom half of the bracket, but yeah, I think I do. Yeah, I do prefer St. Mary's myself a little bit, but like again, that's not quite a coin flip, but I wouldn't have it by more than about 3 or 4 point spread for St. Mary's.
Little strange that that's the game that's on streaming. It's the late game that's on TV, but
yeah,
it has to do with TV windows being open. And
Well, Xavier being in the Pacific time zone and everything, it's like we want that one to tip at midnight.
Yeah,
let's St. Mary's plays New Mexico. St. Mary's, New Mexico, really good game tomorrow night.
Yeah. Let's jump over here to the Arizona tip-off Cactus Division. So some of these events have multiple brackets where they have 4 quote-unquote power conference schools and 4 smaller schools. This is the better of the 4.
Wow.
Tytel,
this is the better of the 4.
This is the better of the 4. It involves, you've been having some Arizona ties. Let me throw this over to you. Grand Canyon, San Francisco, DePaul, and South Carolina. Is anyone going to be watching?
I can't in good conscience tell anybody to watch DePaul in South Carolina. That could be like the worst game of this tournament.
Oh, God, yeah.
I do think that the Lopes are going to have a little home cooking and win this one. It's certainly an uphill battle because they're going to have to beat a power conference team in the title game. But I just feel that Coach Drew has things going on. They look very good in their win over SEMO by over 20 points on Monday. Tyon Grant Foster, the senior forward, had 30 points in 24 minutes. So I think that they're for real.
Yeah, and Griggs, the other division, the lower division here, the Desert Division, features Northern Arizona against Fort Wayne, who's coming off of the very, very big win, and VMI against South Dakota.
Yeah, Purdue Fort Wayne. Can we flop them with DePaul?
Yeah, I was going to say that they should have gotten DePaul's spot then.
Yeah. If you want to call that a big win, but
the TBA's on there. They've not announced where these 4 games will be streamed or broadcast yet.
Okay.
We will update that.
They have not announced where these games will be played yet. They're still
that also, I think.
I thought that's where you were going with that.
Yeah,
Purdue Fort Wayne. None of these and I mean none of them. They're all in sort of weak leagues, and none of them are expected to do well. I know Purdue Fort Wayne did come off. Was it DePaul that they beat the other night?
DePaul they beat, yeah.
Yeah, who I think they should get DePaul's spot, but the Yotes, I mean, VMI, we're talking. I know they're hard to play against based on the style of play that they run, but they're.
Okay, just give me a pick to win. Just give me a pick to win this thing, and so we can move on.
Yotes,
come on.
Yotes.
The Yotes, okay, not Fort Wayne after they won at DePaul. Okay,
no, it was DePaul. Why would that excite anyone?
Who are we up to here? How about Dorman? Let's over to you here for the Hall of Fame tip-off. Much slightly better event here: Mississippi State, Washington State, Rhode Island, Northwestern.
Well, I'll have a much better gauge after I'm going to watch in person Mississippi State take on Arizona State as soon as this podcast is over. But Coach Jans is, he's going to grind it. He's going to play defense. He's going to make his opponent earn everything they get. Wazoo, yet to be seen. I believe bottom of the Pac-12. Rhode Island, Northwestern. I have high hopes for Northwestern. We will see what happens. We'll see how they come out. Last year, I said they were the bottom of the Big Ten, and I was dead wrong. So I hope I am right this year because I think Northwestern's solid. I like the Wildcats here in this tournament.
You like them over Mississippi State then in the final?
I do, but I'll let you know in 2 hours.
I'll let you know. Let us know in 2 hours. Okay. By the time anyone's watching this, Dorman will really know the answer. So check him out on Twitter. Maybe he'll throw it out there for us. Or X, I'm sorry, not Twitter. Matt, the Cayman Islands Classic, 8-team event with again some smaller schools here: Oakland, Drake, Loyola Marymount, Stephen F. Austin, Marshall, Utah State, Florida International, and Akron. Time to get your Flow Hoop subscriptions out here.
Yeah, although there's something like, especially like a Drake LMU semis would be interesting. The rebuilding Utah State. FIU, unfortunately, no more Denver Jones. He's in Auburn now. But then Akron, a solid MAC team. So again, there's some interesting teams, and even Marshall, who had a very good regular season last year, but couldn't win the conference tournament. So again, there's some intriguing teams here. Like, I don't know if I'm quite willing to get a Flow Hoop subscription to watch it, but like, hey, if someone tossed me a stream and I got it available, I might find a way to watch, especially like Drake LMU or like say a Drake Marshall final or a Drake Akron final.
Drake Akron final. I think that's basically destined to happen. And that's a great game.
Drake was close with Lipscomb most of the night tonight. They did pull away late to win that game by double figures.
Yeah, and then Akron, big win opening night. Probably one of the more, I mean, it was lost in the shuffle because of James Madison's win against Michigan State. That Akron win at South Dakota State is massive. Like, that is an at-large caliber win.
Oh, it depends. We don't know how good South Dakota State really is.
Yes, we do.
Yet,
They're
so
the best team in the Summit League.
Let's move on then.
We know that.
Titel, the Empire Classic. This is a pretty good field here, actually. UConn, Indiana, Texas, and Louisville. Very good field.
Louisville makes
three very good teams, and Louisville. Major upset that they beat UMBC opening night, and you are on mute, by the way.
Huge upset.
A lot of great history with teams who have won multiple national championships in Texas. I think the defending champs are going to be okay. They're still looking great. They just had a 43-point win over NAU. And the big man, 7'2", Donovan Clingan, he did miss most of October with a right foot injury. He looked really good in his first ever start. 12 points, 8 boards, 3 blocks, no turnovers, no fouls in just 15 minutes. So I have UConn big over. If I have to pick one, I'm not going to pick Louisville. I'll have UConn over Texas.
UConn over Texas. I think that could be a fun final, actually. I don't know that it's going to be big, but I kind of agree that I think UConn does win it. So, Matt, you had a comment on it?
Yeah, I'd say that. I would look forward to that game. It's funny thinking about the semifinal games at ESPN, and then you have the title game at Belgrade ESPNU just because of Monday Night Football. But like a UConn Texas game, that would deserve big ESPN.
Yeah, you've got so many events going on here too that ESPN is using every possible channel and squeezing games in everywhere they can. So
a possible, even probable Louisville, Indiana third place game. Those two schools don't regularly play. It's not nearly the rivalry that Kentucky and Indiana was and will be again when that resumes. But still, both fan bases kind of get into it, and this year it's going to be terrible.
Okay. Stalika, the Jacksonville Classic. George Mason versus Charlotte. South Dakota State, who Griggs has told us is the best team in the history of college basketball, against UCF.
Well, George Mason, this is going to be the first year where Tony Skinn's going to be taking over as head coach after leading the Patriots to the Final Four back in 2006. They'll be going up against a Charlotte team that's going to be retooling themselves right here. And then South Dakota State getting to take on a Central Florida team that better get some wins while they can right now before they go into the Big 12 meat grinder right here. However, I do think this is going to be South Dakota State's event to lose right here.
All right, you are taking South Dakota State because Griggs told us they are the best team in history.
They're certainly the best team in this field.
This is the higher level bracket, the Coast bracket. There is a lower level bracket. Mr. Titel, how about the Bay bracket with Utah Valley, Southern Miss, Cal State Fullerton, and Cornell?
I'm going to go for the Ivy team, but not just because it's an Ivy team. If you look at the big man for Cornell, 6'9", 250, Sean Hansen. That's like a guy who can play on like a Final Four front court team. Came out on fire the other night. 25 points in 26 minutes in the win at Lehigh. But he doesn't just like dunk and dominate the paint. He was 4 of 5 behind the arc. This guy could be a unicorn here in the Ivy League.
Okay, I'll take it because I've got nothing else on any of these the other teams, and I like these under the radar programs.
I kind of like Southern Miss.
Yeah.
We'll see. I like I mean, in this event, but in general, I really like them out of the Sun Belt.
Now, if this was last year, I'd be all over this Utah Valley team. But
Yeah.
everybody, the roster, the coach, everybody's gone from a very good team.
They got the laundry back. Same uniforms.
Yeah, that's about it. Greg, let me stick with you. Gulf Coast Showcase, another Flow Hoops event here. Iona versus High Point, Long Beach versus Illinois State, Louisiana versus Wright State, and Hofstra versus Buffalo. So some pretty good teams here in here actually.
I will say this for Iona. Considering all they lost in Rick Pitino, they win in the Charleston, did not win, but played really well. I was like, man, this Iona team is good. I think they walk past High Point and probably into the finals. Not so much that they're that good. It's just that I don't think the other teams really are. And in the bottom of the bracket, Hofstra is. I don't know what they lost. They lost one of their top players, Aaron Estrada, into the transfer portal, went to Alabama. They're still good, but not nearly as good as they would be if he were still there. And I kind of like Wright State. I'm kind of curious to see what they can do as well. Again, I know that this is really poor analysis, but we're still kind of at a point in the year where you have a lot more question marks than you do certainties. So just trying to, I don't even know who I like to win this event. I guess you're going to ask me to pick one.
You got to pick one or throw it over to somebody else to pick one.
Okay, I'll throw it over to Stalika. He's an under the radar guy. Who wins this event?
I remember Louisiana being a team that came out of nowhere and won the Sun Belt last year. However, I've also touted Wright State as a potential dark horse team right here. So I would say Wright State might be my wild card pick to win the event here.
Yeah.
Wright State. Okay. There's your pick, everybody. Wright State to win this event. Dorman, let me swing it back to you for the Sunshine Slam down in Daytona Beach. A couple interesting games here. Florida State, UNLV, Colorado, Richmond.
I heard Colorado beat LSU. Oh, that was the girls. What an upset, though. That was, seriously. That was incredible. This is an interesting tournament. This is Florida State, again, athletic, but they don't have the studs that they usually do. UNLV, everyone keeps saying it's finally their time. It's finally their time. I don't know that I agree. I think they're still a year away from being a year away. Colorado and Richmond. I think Colorado is solid this year. I know there were some people that disagreed with me, and I totally understand why. But I think Colorado is strong, and I think Colorado is top 3 or 4 in the Pac-12. Colorado gets a bid to the tournament, but I also like Colorado to win the Sunshine Slam event.
Yeah, I think this is an event where Colorado is going to prove me whether they're for real or not. I mean, they should be able to win these 2 games, and if they can't, that's going to tell me that this is the same Colorado team we've seen for the last several years that everyone, at least I liked heading into the season, and completely disappointed when we got there. The other half of the Sunshine Slam, Matt, Siena, Central Michigan, Milwaukee, and Stetson. Are you excited or what? Here's your.
I will say, I got a little bit of time. This former Marquette assistant Bart Lundy did a fabulous job in that year. Won at Milwaukee, and I think this is a winnable field for them. To where this is not a case of building an at-large resume, but hey, you get a couple wins here. Might say keep you off the 16 line if you win the Horizon League tournament.
They're the Milwaukee's a decent team. Central Michigan is so bad that they make you want to headbutt the sidewalk. That's how bad they are.
I'll tell you, I'm going to make it up for you, Matt. I'm going to stick with you. Jump over to the next event here, the Maui Invitational, including your Marquette team here going up against UCLA, Purdue, Gonzaga, Tennessee, Syracuse, and of course the Kansas Chaminade game there.
Slightly stronger field here.
Slightly stronger field. Make it up for you.
There you go. So this is an all-time great multi-team tournament field here. But I guess back at that lovely, even for me locally, 10:30 p.m. start time still. And luckily, I'll get to work from home the next day, so and that's what keeps me up. But yeah, that should be a great opening game. Obviously, Purdue Gonzaga, a rematch last year in the finals of one of the Phil Knight events, and that very good game. Even Tennessee Syracuse, kind of interesting to see. Does Syracuse under Red Autry got something this year? So,
no.
And then as you advance to like potential Marquette, Kansas, Gonzaga, Tennessee, Purdue, Tennessee, and that the winner, whoever gets there, could be a great final of any of these teams. So yeah, I'd like to be a homer and pick Marquette. I will be objective and take Purdue.
Yeah, and Ty this event has, like he said, the chance for some great games. Even in the losers bracket, we could see some great games here. I mean, you could end up seeing a Gonzaga Marquette fifth place game or a Gonzaga UCLA fifth place game in this event.
Yeah, but just focusing on the first game, like Purdue Gonzaga could literally be the championship game, and it's a 5 o'clock Eastern start on a Monday in the first round of this tournament. Like this is an unbelievable field, as Matt said. I have Purdue over Kansas, mostly because I was very impressed by Purdue in their opener. You could tell this is a team that had been waiting 8 months to get over the upset to the number 16 seed FDU last March. They destroyed Samford by 53. Zach Edey, defending National Player of the Year, his usual self, 16 points, 11 boards, 4 blocks in just 20 minutes. The key to me, though, the sophomore backcourt, Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer, dominating from behind the arc. They each made 4 threes. So it's not just that Edey has to do everything. He has shooters around him now, and I think this is the best team in the country.
It is.
They were my national champion pick, so I'm with you.
But yeah, Tennessee. I mean, Tennessee, Purdue, Kansas. Those are 3 top 4 teams, and there's only 4 teams in the top 4. I counted. There were only 4.
And you're not that far off from Marquette and Gonzaga.
Right.
And even UCLA is kind of is not awful. Sorry, Dorman, you had a comment?
If someone told us that the Final Four, there was going to be 3 teams from this Maui Invitational in the Final Four, I'd buy it. Yeah. This field is absolutely loaded. Every game is going to be fantastic.
I wouldn't be shocked if all 4 of the Final Four were played in this event. It would not completely shock me. But Stalika, how about over in Fort Myers, Florida, Wisconsin, Virginia, and West Virginia SMU in the Fort Myers Tip-Off Beach Division? This is the only division we're going to highlight for the Fort Myers. Their other division only had 3 teams in it, so they're just playing round robin.
Oh, if you like offense.
Yeah, if we get the team that's currently perfected the pack line versus the origins of the pack line in Wisconsin right here, this is going to be another one of those first to 50, maybe first to 40 who ends up winning this one right here. I will probably go with Virginia in this one. West Virginia and SMU. Oh, this is going to be a pillow fight right here. You almost wish they had set this up so that this would have been the consolation or the third place game right here.
No, Stalika, you want to get Wisconsin, Virginia out of the way on a Monday afternoon at 6. It's Monday at 6 o'clock, so nobody has to watch that game. I'm sorry. They're good
Either
teams,
way, I'm taking Virginia to win this one.
Yeah, I am too. But yeah, it's just an odd. Like one of these games has better teams than the other.
It does. And Griggs, let me stick with you with the SoCal Challenge, the surf division here. Bradley, Tulane, Cal, and UTEP.
So
here?
The one game that the Bradley Tulane game again jumps out, and it strikes me as being far more intriguing than Cal, who's a tire fire, and UTEP that's a dumpster fire. Bradley got a really nice road win in overtime at UAB. In Tulane, I love him. Oh, Ron Hunter is doing down there. I really think Tulane is poised to kind of take a big step forward as a program this year. No one's really talking about him. It makes sense that they wouldn't be. They don't really have a rich culture, at least not recently, or tradition of winning. But this might be a year where Tulane kind of jumps off the page. I'm really looking forward to that Tulane-Bradley game.
Yeah. The other division here, Dorman, the Sand Division, Bakersfield against Sacramento State, Austin Peay against Tarleton. I might cancel my Flow Hoops because of this event.
Okay, I'm going to go. I'm going to take Cal State Bakersfield to win this one. I think they're the strongest of the 4.
That might be all we have to say about it. So let's jump over to the Cancun Challenge. And Titel, let me bring you back in here for the Riviera Division. James Madison against Southern Illinois, Fresno State against New Mexico State. This event's been around for a long time, and this is their premier division this year. A little disappointing, although James Madison is here.
So yes, after upsetting Sparty in overtime on the road, I think everybody's going to be picking the Dukes, but not this fan. I'm going to go with Fresno.
Really?
You got Xavier Dussel out of Scottsdale, Arizona. He was a solid guard at Wyoming for the past 3 years. He does the in-conference transfer to the Bulldogs. I think he might be one of the best guards in this league that Joby loves. 19 points, 4 of 7 behind the arc, 4 steals in their win over Fresno Pacific. Obviously, Fresno Pacific is not exactly JMU. So I have Fresno State over JMU, but of course I will not be surprised if the Dukes get it done.
Yeah, and I mean JMU, obviously the story of opening night. Honestly, the college sports world seems to be focusing around James Madison right now with their undefeated football team on top of that. But uh, let's jump over to the other division here, the Mayan division. Uh, Greg, since you laughed, I'm going to give this to you. Morgan State,
Okay.
Radford, Chicago State,
Cougars.
Yes. Well,
Northern Colorado. Chicago State did not look very good in their opening game, and
they
lost to
did
Bowling Green.
not. After being really excited and having a lot of nice things to say about them, no, they did not look good in their opening game. I do think they'll beat Northern Colorado. It would
Are
be
you going
great
to do
to
it?
see
Are you going
them.
to pick them to win the event?
No, Radford.
Uh, all right, Radford is Griggs's winner here, which means that they're probably going to finish at fourth place. Let's Matt. Let me jump back over to you. The Hall of Fame Classic: Boston College, Colorado State, Creighton against Loyola Chicago, who Dorman just saw lose in. Very young
Anyway.
team, but very young team though. So they,
So who finishes second in this one, Matt?
I think this was what Creighton Colorado State could be a fun match. I think I favor Creighton, obviously, but man, 2 of the best offensive coaches in the country with Greg McDermott and Nico Medved, who I think has got a good team at Colorado State, and that this is one. I think if he has a good year at Colorado State, this is the year he takes a jump up to a real high major job. And that, but like I favor Creighton in this, but I think Colorado State could be intriguing. Even that BC Colorado State game is about like BC. They're not as bad as they've been before, and that a big opportunity. Whoever won, it's a big opportunity to get Creighton likely in the finals.
I think there could be a very good game in this event. It's going to be that BC Loyola Chicago third place game. It could be a close game, I think.
I
But
like
that's
Earl Grant as a coach, and he can't win at Boston College, which means no one can.
uh, one of the premier events. Dorman, let me start off with you on this one. Battle for Atlantis, North Carolina, Northern Iowa, Villanova, Texas Tech, Michigan, Memphis, Arkansas, Stanford.
Don't count out Northern Iowa. It's one of the under the radar teams I do like out of the Valley this year. They actually had North Texas the other night on the road.
Lost.
They had a shot at the buzzer, went in and out, or they would have won, but they lost in overtime. Villanova, Texas Tech. I think Villanova's got too much. I love their guard play. Michigan, Memphis. Michigan actually looked people kept telling me Asheville was going to give them a game last night. Michigan jumped on Asheville early and never turned back, but I think Memphis is a little stronger. But that game could go either way. Arkansas and Stanford, I think Arkansas will run them off the court. And I'm going to take the Razorbacks to win this title. Razorbacks over North Carolina in the final.
A Memphis Arkansas game would be really fun. They don't normally play. They play on occasion. There is a little bit of heat there. I don't think most people that aren't familiar with that area realize that would be a fun semifinal.
Well, they are only 8 miles apart and have never met.
They are only 8 miles apart. And they have, while they've met many times in the NCAA tournament, they've never met in the NCAA tournament.
Tytel, this is an interesting event though, because I think we find out how good North Carolina is here. We may find out how good Villanova is here as well.
Yes, my focus is actually on the Razorbacks. So
Okay.
Caleb Battle, he spent the past 4 years combined at Butler and Temple. He only started 19 games in 4 years, even though he's a solid scorer. But if he keeps scoring 21 points in 19 minutes off the bench like he did against Alcorn State, I think Eric Musselman is going to have to put him in the starting lineup at some point.
Yeah, you think so, but I guess you're picking them to win this then.
Over Villanova, I'm a believer in Wildcats
like
of all colors and conferences.
All right,
Not that I'm out on a limb here. I really like this bracket.
Stalika, the NIT season tip-off: Baylor, Oregon State, Florida, and Pitt.
A tradition unlike any other.
Yeah, I was gonna say Pittsburgh at least did not revert back to their stalling ways like I was afraid they potentially could do, but thankfully they avoided doing that for their opener at least. Baylor and Pitt probably going to end up meeting in the championship game unless something cataclysmic happens right here.
You
Now,
think
Florida,
you think Pitt takes out Florida?
I would probably say the Panthers do. The Gators may still trying to be figuring out their team chemistry right here. I think the Gators are going to be a lot better come February or March, but a little early in the year for them to be peaking right now. I would say Baylor's probably going to be my favorite here in this field.
Yeah, I think that's a very strong pick actually there among these four teams. But Matt, the ESPN Events Invitation, another one of the premier events every year. We got Penn State against A&M, Florida Atlantic, who we just saw take out Loyola very easily against Butler, Iowa State VCU, and Boise State Vatech.
Yeah, three real nice teams this year: A&M, Florida Atlantic, and Iowa State, and then even an intriguing Boise team that were like, again, it's a huge opportunity for Boise to pick up a resume one or two, especially if they can knock out Iowa State in the seven. Even Vatech and then Iowa State, that might be two Q1 wins, and then of course you have Florida Atlantic. I think I like them the top half, especially the story at Texas A&M. Their starting big guy Julius Marbles currently not with the team due to some disciplinary issues, so even if he's back, he might not be in prime shape, prime chemistry for that. So that's where I think I like FAU in the top half. And probably overall, I like FAU, although I think I would say Boise State would have could present them a good challenge in the finals.
Yeah, to Tytel, what do you think about that? I mean, is FAU going to win this event here?
I think so. They're certainly good enough. They just had the big win tonight, and it seems like they're getting contribution from all the guys who came back. So it's not a one-man show where you have to, if you stop John L. Davis or something, the whole team falls apart. I think FAU is a solid pick here. I wouldn't sleep on Uncle Buzz only because they already had like one of the best backcourts in the SEC, Tyrese Radford and Wade Taylor, but Hayden Hefner, their senior guard, exploded the other night, 19 points in 20 minutes in the win over Texas A&M Commerce. So he might just have the best backcourt trio in the nation, which is something I can't believe I'm saying, but Uncle Buzz is getting it done in the backcourt.
He is. Yes.
VCU coming off a home loss to McNeese State, not exactly going to be my pick to win this event.
The A10 is on notice. On notice.
The Rady's Children's Invitational, Griggs. Oklahoma, Iowa, Seton Hall, USC.
Oh, well, I mean, at least the children will not for the children. This is actually a decent field.
It's Rady's Children's Hospital there in San Diego. It's the beneficial.
Yeah, and they've got some good teams. Yeah. I'm not going to. I mean, I'm so used to you giving me horrible brackets that I was just assumed. But no, this was pretty good. Oklahoma, a lot. I know you like them as a dark horse, Chad, and I hate to say that I kind of agree. But the more and more I look at them, the more and more I think you're right. And I really like this USC team. And I think that's, if the chalk holds there, that's an interesting final for the children.
Matt, you had a comment on it also?
Well, I'd say, too, look at Iowa, man. Everyone, it seems like you write them off and then just put up another 100 points in their opener, and that seemed to always click early in the year. And it might be like teams catch up. And I think their style actually plays better outside of the Big Ten.
Are they Adam McCaffreys, though, or do they still have a few?
Yeah, they're Adam McCaffrey.
They're not Patrick. I think Patrick probably is always the most talented. I know he had some personal issues. You got it. I think Payton Sandford stepped up.
Yes, he's Fran's son. And personal issues.
Well, let the Dorman, the Vegas showdown: NC State, Vanderbilt, BYU, Arizona State.
How about Vandy last night? Good God, sorry.
I agree, Griggs. That's where I was going to start. But there was three big injuries on the Vanderbilt lineup, so I'm not going to pass judgment yet. I want to see what's going on going forward for Coach Stackhouse. But it didn't look good opening night. If that's how they're going to line it up again, I like NC State to take out Vandy. The other game, interesting. Two teams, I think. BYU, I think, is a little underrated. I really do think that. Arizona State, I'm going to learn a little bit more about tonight with their battle against Mississippi State. I'm going to take a chance here. I like NC State to win this.
Yeah, we hear Arizona State and Mississippi State in the background there. So.
Yeah,
we'll try to get done here quickly. We've got a few more events to go through. Let's get to that game, Dorman. Real quick here, though. Tytel, let me jump over to you here for the Nassau, and then Sleek will get you the next one. Nassau Championship, though. Greensboro against Kansas City, Brown against Delaware, Middle Tennessee against UIC, Ohio U against the Revolutionaries of George Washington. Rough one.
Tough up, as they're saying here in DC chat. I'm going with Greensboro, which is a little bit of a roll of the dice since, as you're aware, they do not even open up their season until Friday. I don't know if they just missed the opening night memo and are just delaying it or whatever. I'm not going with a little Ivy pride for Brown here, so I got UNCG over anybody but GW.
I would think Ohio U. I think there's a little bit of life there out of the back, and they may actually win this entire event here. They may be my pick. But Sleeka, I said I'd jump over to you here for the Emerald Coast. Pretty good event. Alabama, Ohio State, Oregon, and Santa Clara.
Yeah, we could potentially be looking at an all Big Ten final with Ohio State and Oregon right here.
Oh, man.
The way things are going, probably going to be Alabama and Oregon this year. But the way things are going early on, I might actually take the Ducks to end up winning one of their team colors in the Emerald Coast Classic.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a surprise to see how Oregon do it. I think I may be underrating Oregon as I think I'm overrating Colorado this year. Dorman, I know you're nodding at that.
I'm not real impressed with what Georgia has on the floor. So I'm not going to give too much credit to Oregon and that win over Georgia the other night. But I do think Coach Altman has a solid squad here, Oregon, and I think he's going to do better than most of the critics are saying. Having said that, I think Alabama is really going to impress this year. I think they're in the top echelon of that strong, loaded SEC, and I like Alabama to win this tournament.
Okay. I'm sorry, I got the game on television here, and it's on a stream, so it's a little bit behind. I hear the crowd, and then I see what they're reacting to 20 seconds later.
We were timing it. It's 38 seconds behind, if you can believe that. 38 seconds behind.
Matt, the other bracket of the Emerald Coast, Mercer, Tennessee State, Southeastern Louisiana, and Western Michigan. Again, here's that Flow Hoop subscription you got to get.
Yeah, and, I don't know, man, but not be in a hurry for this one. Man, Western Michigan out of the back, although probably actually Mercer is probably the best team in that for producers and Greg Gary and that. I think looks to have a fairly solid squad, and I mean against this field, that's that.
Yeah, I think I'm with you there. Sorry, go ahead.
There ain't much else. I mean, listen, you think Western Michigan out of the back, but they've been the bottom of the back. I think since the Hawkins days, flooded out in the early 2000s. So yeah.
Titel, if you don't want to get a Flow Hoop subscription, you can get a subscription over at BeTheBeast.com to see the Acrisure Invitational. Couldn't even believe this website existed when I found this today and edited it in. But you got to pay $20 to watch these 4 games: UTRGV Hawaii, San Diego, Arkansas State. I'm not going to do it. How about you?
Wait, you actually have to pay for that crap?
Yes, $20 to watch this event. You get all 4 games.
They pay you 20.
If you're a fan of geography, I understand if you want to go with San Diego playing in Palm Springs, but I think the Rainbow Warriors are going to make the trip to the continental U.S. and take care of business.
I actually like this Hawaii team to be right there in contention of the Big West this year. I think that's a good pick to win this event.
I think Hawaii blasts through this.
Well, you got Steve Lavin in San Diego there. Come on.
Yeah, I think Hawaii blasts through this.
This event does not actually give you the extra game. It's not an exempt event or whatever you want to call it. It's not technically an MTVE, but it is the Big Five Classic, and it is somewhat bracketed event. What they are doing here this year is they are playing 2 round robins and 2 pods. Actually, already started last night with LaSalle knocking off Drexel. Temple's also that pod. Also, round robin between Penn, St. Joe's, and Villanova. Then the 2 pod winners play each other. The second place teams play each other. The third place teams play each other on December 2nd. Titel, I gotta stick with you here for another second here. You being a Penn guy, this is Villanova's event, right?
I mean, my 2-0 Penn Quakers are certainly off to a nice start in November. But yes, as a Wildcat, I'm going to have to go with the Wildcats. Great scoring balance in their win over American. 6 different guys scoring between 9 and 15 points. The most amazing fact, which I still can't believe, 5 starters combined for 0 turnovers. This could be another one of those, not a national championship Villanova team, but certainly a bounce back from some up and down years in the past. So I think this is Nova's tournament to lose.
Let me say, Matt here, I think the interesting question may actually be, Wednesday, November 29th, that LaSalle Temple game. Can LaSalle win again and actually play and get to the championship game in this event?
Yeah, you can see it. I mean, Temple rebuilt under Adam Fisher, so hey, why not? I mean, this is one. This is not going to be one that helps Nova's resume, so it's a good thing. They also got participation there in the Battle for Atlantis, because yeah, this is not going to be their resume builder.
Okay, I have an obvious question, and maybe you address this. In the inevitably, it's going to happen to where everybody's 1-1. What breaks the tie? In soccer, you go to goal differential. How do they do that here?
You're gonna have to call the commissioner of the Big Five, the 16 Big Five conference to find that out. I have not seen what the tiebreaker is.
And the second thing is, and all kidding aside, Titel, I mean, I know that you have an appreciation for Philly hoops and the Big Five in general. Is this an abomination? I kind of think it is, as opposed to the old Big Five round robin. Do you like this?
Depends on the answer to this question from Chad. Chad, is this game played at college basketball's most historic gymnasium, the Palestra?
It is not.
It's an abomination.
The same question. That was my question.
I think they're playing.
They weren't at the Palestra the other night. I mean, it was
they
actually.
Weren't.
Yeah.
Well, those opening round games are at the campus sites. As to where the finals are being played, I'm going to double check on that, whether it's at the Palestra or the Wells Fargo Center.
It's Wells Fargo, hence my abomination comment.
Yeah. Dorman, the Sun Bowl Invitational. With South Dakota State, Wyoming, Norfolk State, UTEP. We're actually seeing a couple of these teams for a second time. This is not technically one of those MTEs, but it is bracketed.
Interesting 4 teams here. Interesting games. Not sure where you're going to be able to watch these, but
none of that's been announced yet. But it'll probably be streamed somewhere. Not till the December sometime.
Sun Bowl. Yeah.
I'm going to take the Cowboys of Wyoming to knock out South Dakota State in the first round, and then beat UTEP in the finals.
These are home games for UTEP. Griggs, though, you told South Dakota State's the greatest team in history. So
yeah, I think they win this event.
Yeah. Matt, one last event here, the Diamond Head Classic. It's coming up around Christmas. It's actually Christmas Eve for the final round this year instead of Christmas Day. So I don't know what Griggs is going to do on Christmas Day this year.
I don't know either.
We finally get games on my birthday.
Nevada, Temple, TCU, Old Dominion, Georgia Tech, UMass, Portland, and Hawaii.
I kind of wish for this event you would have had Nevada and TCU in opposite brackets, because that's probably be the most intriguing one of them. Who knows? Maybe David Steinemeyer at Georgia Tech maybe do something, or Angry Frank second year UMass. I think they actually had a very good opening win, and that's maybe they're improved. And I guess you guys have mentioned Hawaii is a sleeper. I think TCU is definitely in the strength of this field. That's one. A Big 12 team that's probably going to wear white in the first round of the NCAA tournament, and there might not be another NCAA tournament team in there outside of, say, maybe like Hawaii if they win, or ODU with their conference.
Yeah, and Titel, Nevada's got to get away from the bats in their arena, but we know that. But
awesome. Awesome.
But is this TCU's event to lose, especially given that you have to go out to Hawaii and you got Christmas going on, you got a lot of other things going on at this time.
I think it's the Vampire Bats event to lose, but
okay.
Barring that, I'll go with TCU. They got the Delaware transfer, Jameer Nelson Jr. Got off to a great start the other night in the win over Southern. 14 points, 6 of 8 from the field, 6 assists, 5 steals, just 1 turnover. If there's anything you need to win 3 games in 3 days, or in this case 4 days, it's a veteran point guard who knows what he's doing.
All right. Well, that's every single bracketed event. If you want to check them out again, go up to the in-season tournament tab. On this note, though, I'm going to run over for each of you for any final thoughts about anything related to either of these events or anything else. And while I got the screen share up, Titel, I'm going to start with you because I know you got a picture you want us to show.
So the big news the other day involved this man and all that money. Bill Self, just to give you a frame of reference. So he started out as an assistant to Larry Brown at Kansas back in 1985 when he made the grand sum of $4,400 per year. Now I think he makes that per hour because he just signed a lifetime contract with the Jayhawks, $53 million over the first 5 years, and it keeps rolling so that he gets more and more going forward. Highest paid basketball coach at a public university ever. There are private schools like Duke, for example, who do not have to report what they pay. So it's possible that Krzyzewski got more in the past. We just don't know. What's not surprising is that he's a Hall of Fame coach. He's got one of the best teams in the nation. He can coach, he can recruit. I get it. He's arguably worth it, but quite a rough little year for my guy. Last March, taken to the hospital on the eve of the Big 12 tournament with heart trouble. He had an aortic valve replaced, for God's sake. And then recently, the independent panel investigating violations, fortunately, the Jayhawks got bailed out with a slap on the wrist. So maybe that's why they have $53 million to spend on Coach Self. And I'm glad for him. Anybody who's got talent should get rewarded for that talent. But, man, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is. I think Calipari also has a lifetime contract in Kentucky, and they want him out though. So hopefully, things go better for Self than they have for Coach Cal. But let's pull this down here and run to the rest of you for any of their final thoughts. And Dorman, let me let you jump in here. I think we're in a TV timeout, so
perfect. There won't be yelling. One, I want to correct something earlier. I said I was complimenting the Vermont program. I said Coach Beck. It's Coach Becker, Coach John Becker, who does a phenomenal job in Burlington, Vermont. What I want to say was Griggs brought up something earlier in the podcast, which I totally agree with, actually. Even if you lose here, the games on the loser side of the bracket, they don't show up as that. They show up on the team sheet like any other game. Because you lose a game here, though, you can't get down. The coach has got to turn it around right away, because every game is so important. And some of these fields we just saw are so loaded. Even the losers brackets are going to be huge wins and huge victories on that team sheet. These games are just as important as the games in February and March. This should be a fantastic Thanksgiving holiday of basketball.
Absolutely. And Dorman, I hear the game going on again. Enjoy the game. Let me jump over to Matt for your thoughts.
So it's interesting, like looking at all these fields, and now when we got these giant conference coming, we're like, you'll have like 3 or 4 fields, and like it might actually help the spread of it. But man, like think about it, if your teams like UCF, BYU, even Arizona State in the Big 12, like the Washingtons, the Oregons, and the Big 10 of that, were like, especially you've just come into the league, you're not getting priority. It might be a long time before you Atlantis or Maui or that, and there'll be a lot of trips to these remote locations to play in these 14 fields against mid majors.
Yeah, agreed completely. Stalika.
Had some Big East news that developed today with Barry Collier announcing he is going to be retiring as athletic director at Butler towards the end of the season right here. This was a man who coached for, I believe, 17 or 18 seasons at Butler, got them back to the NCAA tournament after a 35-year drought because they started getting some NCAA tournament bids toward the turn of the century. After a brief coaching career in Nebraska, he comes back to Butler and turns and takes the AD job for what's been the most successful portion of the Bulldogs' history, where under his tutelage, they're able to hire Brad Stevens. They go to back-to-back national title games and obviously helps get them into the Atlantic 10 for 1 year and ultimately the Big East. So we'll have to see what kind of direction Butler goes after he ultimately steps down in April.
And it would also open up a spot in the NCAA Tournament Selection Committee, by the way. He is a member of that committee.
He is a member, yeah.
Yeah, so he would have to step down from the committee after this year as well if he's no longer an AD, I
believe they would go with another Big East person. I think we'll have to ask David Warlock.
Griggs, you want to finish us off here?
Yeah, just kind of exempt tournaments. I just want to talk about, as soon as I can get my words out right, how special November is. All through October, we're doing all of the previews, and you start to see some of these exhibition games. And while there is a lot of bye games and sort of a lot of hot garbage at this time of year, it's also when you're seeing teams for the first time be tested. And the place where you see that really is these exempt events I know March has the drama. It's the do or die. Like the stakes are much higher. It's a lot more intense. But as far as just a lot of exciting and intriguing basketball, like March, these brackets give you matchups that you don't normally see in venues and environments that they're not normally played in. We've seen everything like from top 5 teams playing in 800 1,000 seat facilities. Last year or 2 years ago, when the ceiling at the hotel fell down in the middle of the game, the Junkanoo Jam has, like, they had a card table down there as press row. I mean, it's just such an amazing time if you're a college basketball fan. Most people don't realize this. If you do daily write-ups all season long, you do. The number of games in November, it's more than any other time of the year. There's more meaningful games, and it just seems like every day you get through that, it's like, holy crap, these are a lot of important games, and they are important. You guys know this from looking at team sheets, doing the mock committees. But in case the audience doesn't, a tier 1 win in November is a tier 1 win, and there's a lot of them. Teams make their case, the strongest part of their resumes, in November sometimes.
Sometimes, especially if you're not in one of the power conferences.
Right.
It's maybe your only chance to make your case. But on that note, I do want to thank everybody for joining us. We will be back, as I mentioned at the top of the show, Monday night with our first regular season Hoops HD report. Next Wednesday night, Under the Radar. But on behalf of Matt Sikowski, John Salika, David Griggs, John Titel, David Dorman, who's out at the Barstool Invitational interviewing the mop guy or something like that, I'm Chad Sherwood. Thanks for joining us. Talk to you again real soon.